Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 384 of the Hoots Podcast. We're currently live from the Break Free Room here in Chicago, Illinois. It's yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez, on this Thursday, October 26, 2023, ready to record episode 384 of the Hoots Podcast as the road to episode 400 continues. Got a little bit of little update for you guys as far as things are going to go with the future of the show. Those who've been living under the rock, I've made it pretty abundantly clear at episode 375 that we are reaching towards the end of our voyage here. That is the podcast at Hoots. And I mentioned this on Twitter, on social media. By the way, you can follow me on Twitter if you like, at the Hoots Podcast. Pretty simple ordeal there. Or on Instagram at Josh Lopez Media. I mentioned this earlier this week, and it wouldn't make sense for us to close the show exactly at episode 400. It just wouldn't make sense just with the history of the show, and right smack dab in the middle of WrestleMania, it'd be kind of dumb just to wrap up the show there. But for those who are wondering, we will reach episode 400, and the thing with episode 400 is that that episode in particular is going to drop in February of 2024, the early part of February. And we'll make sure to go through the rest of the weeks going through WrestleMania, and the week after WrestleMania 40 is over in Philly. We'll have our final episode. But don't fret, we're still able to have some fun here, and even with everything that's going on right now, it's been pretty cool and humbling to see like the feedback we've been getting, and I've been seeing the numbers that we've been getting with recent episodes. It's just insane. We're literally 200,000 downloads and plays away from reaching the 1 million mark. If we could hit that before episode 400, that'd be really cool. Or even by the time we reach the final episode. But we're very close to reaching that benchmark, and I think that's probably one of the main things I'm going to be immensely proud of as I'm closing this final chapter of the podcast. And I just want to say again, thanks to each and every single one of you for taking time out of your schedule to hang out with me throughout the years, whether you agreed or disagreed with my wrestling takes or whatever. I just do appreciate the platform and the opportunity to come here and express the love and passion that I have for an industry that I've been obsessed with and in love with since I was 4 years old, and a platform to show you a side of me that most of my own family doesn't get to see at times, and get the full aspect of who Joshua Adam Lopez is. And I am very appreciative of the things we've been able to accomplish with this show, man. And it doesn't go unnoticed. The consistent support that I've got from guys like Mike and Chris, who participate and contribute to our Q&A segments each and every single week, which is pretty cool to see. But even as saying that, it's just really humbling knowing that I've been able to have a platform to more or less get out of my own shell, I guess. And if you asked me this like 15 years ago, if I ever thought I would get into the media world and become a broadcaster and do stuff like this, probably not. I probably had in the back of my head that I always wanted to be the next JR, but how can you be the next JR if you never talk? You know what I mean? And I'm just very appreciative of what this media industry has given me. From a mental health point of view, but also just the opportunity to grow and get better at my craft. And again, like I was mentioning a couple seconds ago, get me out of my shell and let the walls down a little bit, and get to show you the full aspect of who I am as a human being. And, for better or worse, I gave it my all, this show, to each and every single one of you guys. And I hope you guys recognize that. And I hope the show, by the time we end it, it has the impact that me and Adam were shooting for with the original episode, original concept of the podcast. And it's been a fun ride, man. I can't thank each and every single one of you enough for giving this show a chance, given the fact that the show is not on a major platform. I don't have a blue check mark. I don't have as much clout as other podcasters out there, but um, all that being said, we've given you some authentic content, whether you agree or disagree with our points of view with the wrestling stuff or wherever the situation is. I just want to express my gratitude for everyone who's given this show a chance. I hope that you guys don't look at us closing the show as like a signal of failure of anything, because I never looked at this project since day one as a failure. It's a very interesting time in my life as I look back full circle with this whole project. When I left WrestleZone in 2016, for those who don't know, I've been in the wrestling media world for the last 10 years, right? And I started making like transcripts and play-by-play result pieces back in 2014. Here we are in 2023, approaching 2024. It's about to be 10 years of doing this stuff. And when I had the break that I took after I was done with WrestleZone, I didn't know whether or not I wanted to continue on with this in general, whether it was articles or broadcasting. And the thing that kept me together and kept me having passion and drive with this stuff is this show. And it was a blessing in between, because the only two times I've stopped like making transcripts and had like a full halt of my media career was that little break after I was done with WrestleZone, and I wasn't sure what was coming next. And it was also earlier this year when I had my furlough situation. But having this show be a constant for me, for better or worse, regardless of who's on here or not, rotating, shuffling of co-hosts and stuff like that. I'm just very appreciative of the fact that I've been able to challenge myself to be consistent and, be loyal to you guys and not change along the way. You know what I mean? When you get to these avenues of being a wrestling content creator, especially, sometimes people change. And, numbers and money and social media finally could get into your head and makes people look at you differently, and you move yourself in a different direction and stuff like that. And I'm just very proud of the fact that I haven't changed who I am as a human being and as a man since I started this. And in a lot of ways, a lot of you guys saw me grow up in front of you while the show's going on. When we started the show, I was 22 years old. Now, by the time when the show's over, I'll be approaching turning 30. And I grew up in front of you guys. Not only grew up in front of you as a broadcaster and a media person, but grew up in front of you guys as a man and as a young man and a human being. There's been a lot of maturity. There's been a lot of clarity. Guys, you guys know, for those long time listeners know about my situation of having my heart broken a few years ago. And even especially recently, I've just had a lot of time to reflect on a lot of different aspects that's going on in my life. And perspective is good, like everything bad that's come my way that were out of my control is probably the best thing that could ever happen to me. The furlough situation, like the string of bad luck that I had earlier this year, I look back at it now as a blessing, because here I am now in the end of October. I'm 5 months into a workout project, and right now in my life, all my focus is on right now is working on myself and loving myself and trying to find who I really am at the end of the day. I mean, I've had a grasp of it, but openly expressing who I am has always been kind of a challenge for me in some sense, which is kind of fitting and ironic with the fact that I chose a career in broadcasting and media. But I'm human, man. I don't think anybody has themselves figured out since day one. If you're not learning, if you're not trying to better yourself along the way, I think you're wasting time and not focusing on what's important in your life. And again, there's been a lot of maturity and a lot of growing within my heart and my soul that's come through this process of creating content for you guys, whether it's recording the show or making transcripts. And, um, having that situation early this year and then also having my heart broken a few years ago is the best thing that could ever happen to me. It was, you get wake up calls and sometimes, and these situations are out of your control. What happened in Oviedo, that was out of my control. I took the biggest risk of my life, letting my guard down, being vulnerable to a girl that I was falling in love with. It didn't work out. It's life. Shit happens, you know what I mean? But with that, I was able to grow in a lot of ways and have a lot more discipline emotionally, and having a clear eye of what is and what isn't, and what to and what not to trust, and understand that I had to stick up for myself, and I had to respect myself and my boundaries. And blind love can do that to you. Relationships can do that to you. Lust can do that to you, where you're if you're not like centered whole within yourself, I don't think you can truly give yourself to another person. And the whole thing with that situation is like, hey, it was what it is. I knew it within my heart that I was falling in love with this girl because I didn't have any like weight on my shoulders, right? And I just felt free for the first time in my life. And she was the source of that reason. Now it didn't work out. And I learned from that situation for the better. It's literally the best thing that could ever happen to me because I took the time to reevaluate myself. I had the opportunity to reflect on the situation as a whole, and also an opportunity provided. There was the opportunity provided to me to reestablish my relationship not only with myself, but my personal relationship with the man upstairs, and reestablishing my faith, and trusting myself and trusting my faith in God. And that's really been one of the biggest blessings that's come out of that experience. The stuff earlier this year, we all go through this. I am not alone in the situation that I was earlier this year. I'm not the first person to be furloughed. I won't be the last person to be furloughed. But even with that and everything that went down with my injury earlier this year too, it gave me another opportunity to work on myself. And obviously, one thing I can pride myself on is that I've had self-awareness, whether it's stuff that I need to work on from a mental point of view, an internal point of view, but also exterior point of view. I'm not stupid, and I knew that I had to start making some changes in my life. And I take accountability for the way I got myself down to where I was, and a lot of that came from the depression. And when you get to a depression and you are trying to recover from healing and stuff like that, you start to lose focus on other things that are more important too, and also that is your health too. And I take full responsibility for that, but I also been holding myself accountable to change that. And I can see the progress since I've been doing this project at the end of June. Here we are at the end of November, and at the end of October, I mean. But I've been going at this like a savage since I moved into this apartment. And I've really changed a lot of things in my lifestyle. And, look, I don't have everything planned out. I don't have everything figured out. Even I get it. I'm turning 30 next year. And I don't know what the next 5 years are going to look for me. But what I do know is that I'm in a much better place right now than I was that weekend in 2019 in Oviedo. I'm in a much better place right now than I was back in 2016 when we started this show and I was leaving WrestleZone. There's been a lot of things that have come and gone through this process of being a wrestling content creator. Lost friendships, lost jobs, lost opportunities. But there's also been a lot of things I've been able to accomplish in a short period of time for someone my age. And look, man, I'm in a city that's very hard and difficult to get employment in. And the fact that I've been able to find a career where I could work from home, knowing that I'm doing something that I love, doing something that I know that I'm good at, is just an added bonus. And the fact that I've been able to make a career out of covering wrestling TV shows, given the fact that I've done multiple job interviews at both sports radio stations here in the city, the fact that I haven't got picked up by them, those stations, yeah, it has bothered me. It has made me question, did I make the right choice getting into broadcasting? It has messed with my self confidence. But also at the same time, you got to adapt. And for the opportunities that were given to me, the drive never changes, the work ethic never changes, and I'm not moved and changed by other people. The only way you can change things is if you change yourself. Case in point, the stuff that I'm doing now with my workout stuff, and the healing that I had to do. You know, this is my advice for people that are watching and listening to this. Regardless of the situation is, whether you get fired, whether you get your heart broken, whether you're in whatever situation it is, there's going to come a point where you need to address that pain head on, and also understand the fact that you need to forgive yourself. Especially these two situations that I've been talking about here in the beginning part of the show, I had to forgive myself because those were two situations out of my control. What I can't control is working on myself. And what I've been doing for the last 5 months is really reimagining my life and how I see myself, reimagining how I see myself figuratively, spiritually, emotionally, just everything, just reimagining everything and every aspect within myself. And it's been a good process. It's not easy all the time. There's fatigue that comes here and there, but damn it, if nobody can tell me that I'm not pushing through this stuff and trying to make the best out of the whole situation as a whole, man. This stuff doesn't happen overnight, and I know that more than anything, I know that the future looks really bright on my end because I know the type of man that I am, and I know the skills that I have with doing stuff like this and shows like this and the transfers and stuff like that. And I'm gonna let God figure that out for me. And a lot of things in life is about timing. And I thought so many different times that I've done job interviews with like ESPN or the Score. Okay, now's gonna be the time I'm gonna be hired. Now's the time I'm gonna get that big shot. Now I'm gonna have the opportunity to have that door open for me. But it didn't happen, and I'm so like numb to being like rejected and told no on a professional level and a personal level that I'm just like numb to it at this point, because I can't have everybody in the world tell me no. I could do that, but does my life matter if I'm telling myself no? Does anything that I'm doing right now matter if I don't love myself, if I don't trust what I'm doing, and I don't have any confidence in me? Like, it would be useless, right? But that's not the case, because no matter how many times I've been told no at job interviews or been rejected by a chick or whatever, or the times I got cheated on when I was in high school or whatever, that's not a reflection on me. That's not a reflection of the people who said no to me. And I always say when those situations happen, it's their loss. Not taking a chance on me is other people's loss. That's out of my control. Because I know how genuine and good heart of a person I am on that personal level, but also on a professional level too. I know that my head is on straight. I got my shit together. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm doing. And I can't blame anybody. I can't move and live my life in the spirit of bitterness and blaming people for why I'm not where I want to be. Look, man, I've been working and grinding for the last 10 years, and I've been busted my ass to pay for my own life on my own terms for the last few years since I moved out of my mom's house a few years back. And I'm doing this and I'm living my life on my own terms. And I couldn't be more happier than I am right now because I got a great setup here at this new apartment. I've been able to have the opportunity to reconnect with my dad's side of the family that I lost touch with during the cold COVID stuff. And, I'm having this time now to work on me and love myself again and reestablish my relationship with the man upstairs. So I really, when I say I have nothing to complain about or be upset about, I truly mean that. There's really nothing going on in my life right now where I'm like, fuck, man, like this is terrible. How am I gonna recoup from this? There's nothing, man. I'm not in a relationship right now. Boo fucking who? I got more important things to worry about than that type of stuff. And I've said it before for people that have asked me the question, like, oh, why don't you go out on dates more? Why don't you like try to get yourself in a relationship? I don't have time for wasted energy, and honestly, I'd rather I have other interests when it comes to that dating stuff than just getting straight to a relationship because I can't trust people at this point. I just can't. I can't. I've been burned too many times to be like, oh, okay, now this is the one. No, I have other needs at this point. For me, also from a professional point of view, I'm just happy that I got my job back, a couple months ago, and I'm kicking ass. I'm seeing that the articles are ranking #1 in the Google search engines, which is pretty cool. And I've been kicking ass with the transcripts and the pay-per-views and stuff like that, and that's been a lot of fun. But also at the same time, like I'm trying to reload my bank account. My focus right now is 100% on me and getting back on track to where I was this time about a year and a half ago before I went to Dallas for WrestleMania. That's where my mindset is right now. And if I get in a relationship, cool. If I have sex with somebody, awesome. Like it's not the end of the world for me, and it's not like the top of my priority list for me. And right now, I'm just really working on myself, and that's what it is. And what I appreciate about this show is that I could come on here and be 100% completely vulnerable with you guys because this is this is obviously my show. This is also an opportunity for me to be vulnerable and let loose and to speak from the heart because I don't really get these opportunities that much to talk like this and have conversations like this with other people. And I appreciate you guys being open to hear me out, being open to hear my perspective on things. And, I hope in any way that you ever listen to the show that you can learn something from me and understand that when I come on here, the goal here is to make you laugh, give you a little different perspective on wrestling where you don't have to talk about booking the 100% of the time you talk about wrestling with your friends. Let's try not to act like we're the smartest person in the room all the time when it comes to talk about professional wrestling. Like, let's have fun with it. But also, I've never shied away from uncomfortable topics and uncomfortable conversations. And I've really opened myself up to a lot of things to you guys that I probably haven't even to my own family members. But I'm very grateful for the following that we've been able to build with the show for the last 7 to 8 years. I really, really am because you guys allow me to be myself, and the best way I could repay you guys is just being me. And that's the biggest thing. I had to repay you guys for giving two shits about what I had to say about scripted wrestling matches, male soap opera. So I try to keep things in perspective a lot of times, and more times than not, I'm more guarded and I like to be more observant than I am reactive. And that's how I carry myself with a lot of different things in life. So like I don't move with impulse reactions and impulse movements. Um, I think before I talk, and some people don't do that, and sometimes that makes people uncomfortable too, because like you know people have a hard time having these real conversations because they can't hold themselves accountable, and a lot of people these days just want to bullshit each other. I have nothing to hide here. I know I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I want to help people. I want to help people look and have confidence within themselves and trust and have faith the man upstairs. And I want to help people that want to be healed and stuff like that. But again, I'm not going to come on here and say that I have the answers to everything. I don't have the answers to everything when it comes to wrestling. I don't have the answers to everything that comes with life. What I do here is to have fun, and we just here to shoot the shit. So when I say the show is literally like a back porch setting, these are the conversations I would have with you if we were just sitting down. And again, good part of me is that I like helping people with their issues and listening to what they have to say and what they're going through. And it's not 100% solely about what I'm feeling at the moment or stuff like that. Because I never really been 100% a selfish person, because I like helping people more than what only benefits me at the end of the day. That's just type of person that I am. So again, I just want to thank you all for allowing me to come on here and just speak a little open with you guys. And this week's been a little difficult for me. Obviously, we had the memorial service for my Aunt Chrissy this past Saturday at Holy Rosary, my church from my mom's side of the family. And it was a really good service. Really nice to see a lot of my aunts and uncles and cousins that I haven't got to see in a while. Obviously, great to see Felicia, good person that I've known for a very, very long time. She lives now in Wisconsin now. But also, get to reminisce a lot of things as a kid, and a lot of fun times that we shared at her house in Campbell. And it was a really good service, and I handle grief differently than other people. Death is obviously a inevitability for all of us and stuff that we have to accept at the end of the day, but it's also something that we all handle it in our own way, and I'm not going to tell somebody how to grieve. But, it was sad. Every situation, regardless of what the situation is, losing a family member, especially somebody that you care for and somebody that had a positive impact on you, like Aunt Chrissy had on me. Like, when I say that she's one of the big supporters, consistent supporters I've always had in my life, I'm not bullshitting anybody. That's a fact. I get it. I chose a form of entertainment to cover that's not morally correct for everybody. It's not 100% solely acceptable in society of professional wrestling. I get it that wrestling is a niche product and wrestling is not for everybody, but I always appreciated Chrissy for just accepting me for who I was and always loving me for who I am, and not trying to project me to be something that I'm not. And I just really, she's really, when I say like she's a real one, you have people in your life that come to your life that like, they'll tell you what's up. And she was very observant in a lot of ways and very caring in a lot of ways. Like, she's one of the most selfless people I've ever met in my entire life. And, I got a lot of my good traits from her too, and it was, it's sad, to reconnect with people on crappy circumstances like that, like a memorial service. But, even to get a chance to give my Aunt Kim a hug. I haven't seen her for almost 2.5 years, and Aunt Kim's my godmother. I haven't seen her in 2.5 years, but get to be there to comfort her during a rough time. She's honoring her sister, and I get to see her. I haven't seen her in a while, but family's family, man. You gotta be there for them. And I thought the service and everything was really, really nice, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to celebrate her life because she was a special woman, and she's going to be deeply missed. And that's why I'm dedicating this week's episode to Aunt Christy. So, with that being said, I got a couple things I wanted to plug here really quick. Like I said, you see on the screen, you can follow me on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. Make sure to type in the Hoots Podcast. We're very close to reaching the 500 benchmark on YouTube, which is pretty dope. And also, like I said earlier, we're almost 200,000 downloads away from reaching 1 million, which is pretty cool. So if we could get that before episode 400, that'd be awesome. But we do have a lot of wrestling to get to today, so this monologue is coming to an end. Again, I just want to thank all of you for allowing me a chance to be open with you guys here in the beginning part of the show, let you guys know what's been going on in my mind for the last couple days. And, I just appreciate the platform for you guys to allow me to be me. So thank you guys. I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. So with that being said, let's start off the show with the same format that we had last week. And I had a fun time switching things up last week, flipping the format, if you will. And we're going to do that today again. So, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, strap it down, because, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another stellar edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. Oh boy, we got a lot to talk about this week. Let's start the wrestling talk right now in a 3, a 2, a 1.
Your meat, beat 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 your meat.
I'm telling you, my time is right now. Right this minute, 2022. We're living it. My time is now. My time is right. God damn now.
Man, what intensity.
The quality of the product and the quality of the shows is at an all-time high right now. But I do know that it's a real war between AEW and WWE.
I'm still cashing fat checks, and I am still banging the hottest bitch in this entire place.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW?
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what the hell is wrong with AEW? Brought to you by the good folks at the Wrestling Observer newsletter. And if any of you are wondering, no, hell no, I will not be making any votes, nor do I want any votes for the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. I could give two shits about it if you're asking me. All right, guys, you know what? Let's keep this on the screen. You guys already see my ugly bug as it is. So let's keep it on here with the Last Supper. And let's talk about what the hell's wrong with AEW this week. Last week, fairly more positive. We were coming off the heels of Tony Khan having a temper tantrum at the likes of a 13-year-old chick. And here we are on October 26th with a episode of Dynamite that once again had less viewers than NXT this week, which I found to be very interesting. Also, I like to say before we get into any parts of the show, I do want to say collectively, I thought Dynamite last night was another solid episode, and things are starting to pick up here and there. I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't really been watching much of Collision since CM Punk left AEW. And I have it on my DVR. I just really haven't had the time or want to watch Collision. So all I know is now is that Tony Schiavone is doing play-by-play on Collision, and I don't know why we need more Tony Schiavone in 2023. I respect the guy and what he's done in the wrestling business, and he's a good dude. But less Schiavone, the better. You already have enough of them on color on Dynamite on TBS. Why do we need them as a play-by-play? You got Kevin Kelly or Ian Riccaboni that you want to have play-by-play there on Collision. I don't know why Schiavone needs to do play-by-play. I just don't. I don't get it. But again, I just really haven't been interested in Collision since Punk left. It was the slow reason for me wanting to watch that brand, and also it was again the only reason why I went to the debut episode at the United Center for Collision. So that's the reason why I haven't really been talking about Collision a lot when we do these What the Hell is Wrong with AEW segments, because the show's just there for me. It's not piquing my interest. It's just there. Every other week, it's something where we need to prop up Bryan Danielson's ego, so he's going to have long matches just for the sake of having long matches. One week is Kyle Fletcher. The next is Andrade Alidolo. Again, and I tell you guys a gazillion times, I'm not the biggest Bryan Danielson fan in the world. And also the fact that FTR lost the tag titles to Ricky Starks and Big Bill is freaking hilarious to me. But outside of that, man, just really haven't had the want or need to watch Collision recently. So all that being said, I have liked Dynamite the last couple of weeks, and I thought last night's episode from the Le Cura Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania last night, I thought the episode was decent. There's stuff that I liked, and there's plenty of stuff that I did not like. But as Brother Carter said, let's start off with the good stuff, right? I make jokes about this, right? I mentioned before that Renee Paquette is the greatest waterfall to come out of Canada, and that still remains to be true here in 2023. But at the same time, she's just doing a really good job in general with her interviews recently. And I know she's always been talented, especially during her WWE days. And she's just a immense talent, regardless of what she's doing and regardless of who she's interviewing. I got a lot of respect for Renee Paquette. She just seems like one of those cool, genuine people that you want to have a good time with and want to work with and want to learn with too, And it's a bonus that she's as hot as she is. And she is hot, trust me. But she's killing it each and every single week. So I want to give my props and a big shout out to Renee, because she's doing a great job over the last couple weeks, especially these sit-down interviews that she's been having on TV. There were good matches last night on Dynamite, but again, we run to this consistent problem with nonsense officiating and just the insensate need to have 6 people run down to the ringside area after a match is over or during a match, and these excessive needs of having these WCW style afterbirth brawls and stuff. It's just I felt like last night's Dynamite was the quintessential Dynamite. You have a couple good matches here and there, and the rest is okay. We have a talking segment that goes too long, match pairing that's just there for the sake of having a match that nobody gives a shit about, like Hikaru Shida and Ruby Soho. And then you got matches and programs that are just overstaying their welcome. Again, MGF and Juice Robinson, I thought they had a decent match. It was for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. MGF retained it for the 5th consecutive year now. And MGF beat Juice Robinson. But did that match make me more excited for MJF's title defense against Jay White at Full Gear? No. Because like I said last week, I just haven't had the want or need to watch this match because honestly, for me, I don't care. If it was the Switchblade that I see for New Japan, great. I would be all for it. But the fact that we need to do these elementary school tricks just because Jay White's a heel and people and Tony Khan is so desperate for people to care about the Bullet Club Gold faction. It's just there for me, you know. That's the best way I can say it. It's like we talked about it a couple weeks ago about the controversial angle about the roll of quarters and everything and stuff like that, and I made my thoughts perfectly clear on that whole bit. But it's not just that; it's the concept and the need to have the constant interference and the fact that Jay White needs to hold and have the title hostage in order to get the title shot and him calling himself as a champion. It's one of those tropes in wrestling that I just never really get. I don't have more hatred towards a wrestler because they're playing keep away with a title like we're 6 and 7 year olds. That doesn't make me hate a wrestler or want to see him get his ass kicked. I'm just indifferent to it. It's not only that, because we got this whole thing. It's MJF against the world. We got MJF fixated on Jay White. The next second is Wardlow because he's still butthurt over at what happened at Double or Nothing. Then we got Samoa Joe who thinks he's entitled to a rematch with MJF, even though MJF defeated Samoa Joe at Grand Slam. And then we got Kenny Olivier because we got to have MJF surpass Kenny's record title reign, right? As the AEW World Champion, the longest reigning AEW World Champion. I can appreciate that they're having multiple competitors going after Max, but the current babyface character of Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, I just don't care. It's not doing anything for me. I know the guy cuts good promos. Guess what? Water is wet. I know he could entertain the crowd. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I love Max. He's the man. I was kissing his ass before everybody else was kissing his ass. I can come in here and wax poetic on how great Maxwell Jacob Freeman is each and every single week. But this stuff with Adam Cole, and then we got to worry about Roderick Strong and the two goons next to him, and it's just there, man. It's like I can't keep up who he's feuding with at 1 second. And 3 out of the 4 possible competitors, I could give 2 shits about because I've seen the match already. And again, I'm going to be consistent with this. Max is best at being the devil. Being a devil is not a sympathetic gray area character, and that's what MJF is right now. So they need to figure out what the hell's going on with who's rocking his devil mask recently. And just do the heel turn already. Adam Cole probably won't be back to be clear to compete by the time Max's whole bidding war 2024 is over, you know, by the time that time period comes. And so we have MJF against Olivier on Collision this Saturday, which it is a pay-per-view match. I personally don't have an issue with it being on Collision because you got obviously the Max Jay White match going on at the Forum for Full Gear. I understand the purpose of why they put that match on Collision. So them doing that doesn't really bother me. I know I saw that complaint after the show yesterday, but I'm just ready for Max to be who he really is as a character. And this stuff with the babyface stuff is just not doing it for me. No, I don't want to see him against Roderick Strong. No, I don't want to see this feud with him and Jay White continuing. We already did it with Samoa Joe. If you were going to have Samoa Joe be the guy to take the title off him, it should have happened at Grand Slam. So what I'm saying is, can we get back to the bidding war of 2024? Because that's the biggest angle that you could do right now for AEW and have people tune into the show to see whether or not this guy will become a free agent. And the more we're dragging it on with these side feuds, and this is the other dumb part for me that I saw last night. Again, Adam Cole is not coming out there to save the day. So the fact that MJF is still walking out there and having to do double duty on these pay-per-views because, oh, God forbid we lose sight on the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Who gives a shit? Oh, we got the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. It's going to be MJF against the Ass Boys. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Colton and Austin have certainly improved a lot in 2023, and they've been doing some good work recently. But do I want to see that as a match when you already got him and Jay White as the main event of the show? Is Max going to do triple duty? Is he going to fight Wardlow on the show too? Is he going to pull a Triple H? Like No Mercy 2007? Oh, at Full Gear, Max Wolf, Jacob Freeman will have 3 title matches. Maybe 4. Why not? Why don't you make the main event at Full Gear a Fatal 4-Way or a Fatal 5-Way? You got MJF, Kenya Olivier, Wardlow, Samoa Joe, Roderick Strong. You know, you get what I'm saying, right, guys? Like, it's too much, and the fact that we had a 20-minute afterbirth brawl and talking segment after the first match was over was just too much. I get it, you wanted to do plug the Max and Kenny match for Collision, fine, no harm, no foul, but then you have the Acclaim coming out too, and it's all over the fucking place. Like I can't even catch up with it, and I'm pretty good with this stuff when it comes to like following along with a lot of the stuff that's going on with the ankles and everything. But it's just there for me. Like I'm just ready for Max to be a heel again. That's my whole thing. Okay. Chris Jericho had a sit-down interview with Renee Paquette, and he was talking about, you know, he's been down in his dumps. His ego and his pride was insulted by the fact that he got his ass mollywopped by Powerhouse Hobbs a couple weeks on Dynamite. And I put in the description here of the podcast this week, the Ayatollah of Delusion. So he tells Renee that Mr. the guy with the probably biggest ego in the history of professional wrestling is going to sit here and try to convince us that he's lost his confidence. Get the fuck out of here. So he tells Renee, hey, you know, now I need to remind myself who Chris Jericho really effing is. And hey, I'm not alone, Don Callis family. I got friends too. And suppose he's going to bring in people who's bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs. Okay. Is the Big Slow coming down? Is Mark Henry returning to the ring? Is Goldberg going to team up with Chris Jericho? I would love to see the bitch fets to see from the AEW marks who think they do absolutely nothing wrong, to see their reaction when Goldberg beats Powerhouse Hobbs in a trios match. It's happening. The more I think about it, I could totally see it right now that Goldberg will align himself with Chris Jericho. I mean, hell, fucking Ric Flair was on the show last night. Let's bring in some more people from WCW. Is Luger off the wheelchair? What's next? Buff Bagwell? I'm pretty sure DDP could still go too. I mean, DDP could drop Kanose Takeshita, aka Make-A-Wish Kota Ibushi. He could drop him with a diamond cutter. Who cares about the Don Callis feud with Chris Jericho? Like, seriously. Speaking of Ric Flair, it was advertised that Tony Khan was going to give Sting a special gift. You know, Sting made his announcement last week that he's going to be on his retirement tour. I love the Eagles. By the way, the Eagles will be here in Chicago on Friday, March 28th, 2024 for their long goodbye tour. Love to see those guys in concert one more time before they wrap it up. They're saying that's their final tour. But speaking of tours, we have Sting. Look, I had no issue with this. Normally, if you listen to these type of segments, I probably would blow my lid or whatever with the stuff with Ric Flair and Sting, but it makes sense. These guys have a lot of history with each other. Obviously, it was talked about last night, the Clash of the Champions match that they had on TBS way back during the territory days and NWA when it was on TBS and Superstation and stuff like that. I've gone back to watch that match about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago when I was like really going into my deep dive of like AWA and Mid-South and the NWA. I've seen the match. I know what Ric Flair means to Sting. So as a historian of wrestling, I had no issue with that. I thought that was cool. The best part of the segment, though, was not Ric Flair coming out and celebrating Sting. The best part of that segment was Christian Cage being the MVP of AEW. This guy is fantastic, man. You want to talk about a guy like Silky Johnson from the Player Haters Ball not giving two fucks? Christian Cage says, "Hold my beer." My God. He's like, really? You're a billionaire and you bring in Ric Flair with a black liver. My God. Oh man, Christian Cage is something else. But again, we have to have the need of trios matches. I'm pretty sure Mrs. Personality herself, Aubrey Edwards, will be the first in line to be, hey Tony, can I be the referee? Can I be the referee for that match? I got some choice words for Aubrey Edwards once we're done with this segment. But so we have Christian challenging Sting and Darby to find themselves a tag team partner, and they'll fight them at Full Gear. So it'll be Christian, Dino Douche, and Malcolm in the Middle in 2023 against Frankie Muniz. There you go. That was his name. Against Sting, Darby Allin, and the partner choosing. So they're going to have a trios match. Predictable as all hell. You probably knew it was going to be Edge. Edge had another interview backstage with Renee. This was one of my favorite parts of the show. And really, this is something I think AEW should do a little more of here. This confrontation, I guess, or a wake-up call, or tough love that Sting was giving Edge last night. In their little face-off backstage. I really liked that. I thought that was very, very good and very effective. Like, you can see the reaction on Edge's face of what Sting was saying to him, and it was hitting a chord with him. And I thought that was good. So, it's a match. It makes sense. You kind of saw the direction this was going at. If you saw Wrestle Dream, you kind of figured out it's going to be the next logical step. So, you get a trios match with those guys. What else did I forget to mention? Yeah, we had a couple other matches on the show. Again, we had brutal officiating in that MJF Juice Robinson match. Bryce Remsburg is useless as a cow. We had Aubrey Edwards doing her special. She had the Dark Order against Hook and Rob Van Dam. So RVD has been making sporadic appearances recently with AEW, and I put it on Twitter last night. The guy's got like a Benjamin Button thing going on. Like, he just gets better with age, and he doesn't look like he slowed down one bit. He looks fantastic, and him and Hook are a pretty decent tag team, so they got a victory over the Dark Order, even though Aubrey Edwards didn't know what the fuck she was doing half the match. It's okay to tell a heel to get out of the ring. I don't know why the hell she was going back and forth with Alex Reynolds for 3 or 4 minutes when he already tagged out to John Silver. Like, that was all over the place. Then you got Evil Uno out there. And this is the stuff I say all the time with AEW, where they have to drop their load and drop 75 pounds into a fucking shit bag in order to say, oh, we got continuity and storyline development and stuff like that. No, you don't need an afterbirth brawl after every match. And no, you don't need to have freaking 7 people at ringside during the match. I tell you, I swear to God, hell will freeze over the day Aubrey Edwards knows how to officiate a tag team match. It's literally impossible for her to do a simple tag match without the wrestlers in the ring making her look stupid. It's literally impossible for her to officiate a tag team match. And I don't have to be a referee to point that shit out. I've been covering these shows for years now. It's been the same thing since she's been in the company. Every time there's a tag match, oh, people are running in here. She pretends that she's not seeing somebody cheating right in front of her eyes. She's horrible at her job. And no, this is not me being against women or anything like that. I call a spade a spade. She sucks at her job. She literally sucks at her job. And that's a shoot. Let's talk a little bit about this. We had Swerve, Strickland, and Prince Nana. Let's do the dance, right? They're strutting their way down to Virginia. They decided to invade Hangman Page's house. I'm watching this, right? And where's the wife? Why was the door open late at night in Virginia? Is that how you guys roll down there? I know we have fans down there in Virginia that listen to the show. I see the geographic regions for our podcast. I appreciate those in Virginia who listen to our show and watch it. Look, when you're invading another man's house, that's just time for the gulags and stuff like that. And I know it was making the rounds this week, like, oh my God, Will Washington is behind the creative for Swerve Strickland's feuds and programs, and water is wet. They're related. Am I supposed to be surprised or blown away by that fact? Come on. So they wanted to go this route where Swerve is playing mind games with Hangman. Swerve gives his son a Mogul Embassy t-shirt. I don't know. I like their match in Wrestle Dream, but as far as like an angle and storyline, I don't know. What happened last time was just another avenue for these two to have like some hardcore type of match or something like that at Full Gear. And I'm pretty sure the match will be good too, but yeah, I thought this storyline kind of took a detour last night. I didn't think that was necessary. And then we had the main event. Okada and Orange Cassidy taking on the Blackpool Cuckold Club. Decent match. Always cool to see Okada wrestle. I know that Bryan Danielson has some hurt feelings over what happened at Forbidden Door with his shoulder injury. But, you know, it's Bryan Danielson. He gets himself in these situations more times than not. And he's injury prone at this rate. I'm just being honest. The guy is injury prone, and the guy is a liability at this point. So when I say that, like, I'm not trying to disparage the guy as a human being or anything like that. It's just I'm calling a spade a spade. The guy's a liability in the ring. So yeah, the tag match. There was some good exchanges with Okada and Cesaro, which I thought were good. And, you know, Bryan Danielson was not having time for the pockets nonsense, so I give him credit for that. But Claudio and Bryan Danielson did end up beating Okada and Cassidy, and the show ended very awkwardly because the Blackpool Cuckold Club was attending to Bryan Danielson for his latest injury, or fake seizures that he likes to pull off at times. But yeah, very strange way to wrap up what I thought was a okay episode. little bit mid if you want to be honest here, and I think the numbers reflect that as well. So, although I thought Dynamite was kind of mid, in my opinion. But with that being said, let's do the Excrement Impression before we get to the next part of the show. All right. Let me scroll down real quick. I got this right here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live tomorrow night on TNT. It's another stellar edition of AEW Rampage. Ahead of their big match on Collision, we'll hear from World Champion MJF and Kenny Omega. Next, we have Kyle Fletcher taking on Kanose Takeshita of the Don Callis family. There, we have a fatal four-way match with the winner getting an AEW Women's World Championship match on Collision. It's Sky Blue taking on Willow Nightingale, Anna Jay, and Abaddon. And our main event, it's a no disqualification Falls Count Anywhere match with Mike Santana and Ortiz. And don't forget, coming up this Saturday on Collision, MJF puts his AEW World Championship on the line against the cleaner, Kenny Omega. Don't forget to get all your information and more matches to be announced this coming Saturday on Collision. Make sure to follow Tony Khan at Twitter at Tony Khan. You get all your AEW tickets right now at AEWTIX.com. That's AEWTIX.com. With that being said, I ask the question each and every single week. Let me know, what the hell's wrong with AEW?
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Alright. Welcome back, everybody, to the Hoots Podcast. That is What the Hell's Wrong AEW. Let me get myself back here on the screen. All right, guys. When we come back, let's talk about what happened this week in WWE right here on the Hoots Podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to the Who's Podcast. Time to talk about what happened this week in WWE. A couple of announcements came out this week. Looks like we're going to full layout setup for Survivor Series this year. We're gonna have War Games. We're not gonna have the big LED screen, the big Titantrons. This could be a very different setup for WWE pay-per-view wise. I don't think there's been a look like this on the production side for pay-per-view in Chicago since WrestleMania 13, which is crazy to think about if you think about it. But curious to see how that's gonna go. Yes, so that was announced. Not only that, there was announcement earlier this week that WWE will be having their first premium live event in Germany next year. It's the Bash in Berlin, Germany, August 31st, 2024. I think that's pretty dope. Get your pencils in for Gunther against Ludwig Kaiser for the Intercontinental Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's cool that Germany's getting an event. I think there's some rumor and innuendo out there that Backlash may possibly be in Paris, France. I think that's an interesting upgrade from Philadelphia. Sorry to my guy Anthony DiStefano and Matt, but I had to call a spade a spade. Paris is definitely an upgrade than Philadelphia. With that being said, I just want to say that, it's cool. It is cool to see that WWE is getting these opportunities to have these premium live events outside the country, and they're doing a great job with that. And I think it's pretty cool. Let's talk about what happened this week on TV. It's going to be a little shorter segment this week. I want to keep this podcast a little shorter this week. But let's go quickly over the stuff that happened on SmackDown this past Friday night in San Antonio, Texas at the Frostbank Center. What a weird name for an arena. And a banking place too. Paul Heyman and LA Knight had a very interesting one-on-one interaction with each other. LA Knight was playing mind games with Paul Heyman. 1 second he's like, "Hey, get out of the ring," and then the next thing he's like, "Get back in here before I knock you out." And LA Knight was playing mind games. He wanted to send a message to Roman Reigns. Those two will be having a contract signing tomorrow night live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Pfizer Forum on FS1 tomorrow. Don't forget, SmackDown will not be on Fox tomorrow. It'll be on FS1. I thought LA Knight I think he hold his ground with Paul Heyman. That's not an easy situation to be like a guy on the rise to have a one-on-one interaction with Paul Heyman in the ring like that. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people were emotionally invested and really into that Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes match at WrestleMania was because of the fact that face-to-face conversation that Paul Heyman and Cody had in Orlando earlier this year. And, that was one of the best talking segments of the year, that face-off with Paul Heyman and Cody Rhodes. I don't know if I'll put this one onto the level of that, but I thought LA Knight hold his ground, and I thought he did a good job here. So LA Knight and Paul Heyman did some good business there. And I'm pretty sure that this is another big opportunity for LA Knight tomorrow night because, it's one thing to go bar with Paul Heyman on the microphone. It's another thing to do that with the Tribal Chief tomorrow night. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. But, yeah, this is a big thing for LA Knight. And I've been saying this for weeks now. If LA Knight cannot handle losing to Roman Reigns and this could be such a setback that he can't regain his momentum, then he's not the guy that all of you make him out to be. I think he's going to be just fine in a much better position coming out of Crown Jewel than he would going into Crown Jewel at this moment. So I think LA is going to be in a good place. Tomorrow should be interesting. These contract signs go in a lot of different ways. I also think it's a big opportunity for Nick Aldis to show where he is as a on-screen authority figure. He was recently on Busted Open this week. I thought that was a very good and honest and raw type of interview for him. He got to speak about what he was feeling inside. This has been a long journey for Nick Aldis to get to WWE. And to capitalize on this opportunity where he's saying he was ready, willing, and able to go about this. And, this is something that he wanted to do. And I think Nick's going to kill it, and he's already doing a good job. So we have Roman Reigns, LA Knight tomorrow night, contract signing. Santos Escobar against Montez Ford. Decent match. Montez Ford won after shenanigans were going outside with the LWO and Angelo Dawkins. We had John Cena and Jey Uso bringing the fight to Solo and Jimmy. I thought this was a pretty funny segment. John Cena's doing the whole Leonardo DiCaprio bit from Wolf of Wall Street. It's like, I'm not sure. And then he's like, oh, I'm back. I'm not going anywhere. He's doing that whole trick on us. And he's like, the next idiot to come out of the curtain is going to get smoked. And obviously, Solo Sikoa, all he wants is the smoke. So, look, whether this match happens at Crown Jewel or next Friday, because I know they're doing a double taping of SmackDown tomorrow night. For those who don't know, they usually do a double taping of SmackDown when they go for these international shows, unless they have a SmackDown there live. But I know for the Saudi Arabia shows, they always do a double taping before that. So you're getting 2 SmackDowns in Milwaukee tomorrow. So those Hicks and Packer fans up there need to bring their A game tomorrow night. Let's see what else stood out here. Logan Paul This was a big week for Logan Paul as he made his return to WWE television. He had the match officially confirmed with him and Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship. That's going to be a decent match at Crown Jewel. But not only that, we go to Monday Night Raw with him and Dominic Mysterio just causing all types of heat and just vitriol from the crowds. Logan Paul and Dominic Mysterio in the ring at the same time is just Heat City, USA, and I love it. And I thought that was hilarious seeing that from both guys. So, Logan Paul is trying to avenge the deadbeat dad of Dominic Mysterio. We'll see how that one plays out at Crown Jewel, but it looks like a good chance for Logan Paul to become the United States champion, and, he had to play his mind games. And here's the thing. I do appreciate this from a continuity point of view. Like, the last time we saw Logan Paul on TV, he was playing mind games with Ricochet and his fiance, Samantha Irvin. And he was like saying, "Hey, Samantha, why don't you introduce me?" It's like playing mind games with her, trying to force the introduction out of her. And then Ricochet gave him the beats. On Monday, Ricochet will be having a match with Dominic Mysterio one-on-one. And that should be pretty interesting as well. So, good stuff for Logan Paul. Seeing him back on TV, he's doing some good work, if you ask my opinion. Not if anybody cares, but yeah, so good stuff there. We had A-Town Down Under getting the victory over Dragon Lee and Cameron Grimes. Somebody had to take the L, and it was Cameron Grimes. We had Kathy Kelly having a sit-down interview with Kevin Owens. This one didn't really go anywhere. I was expecting maybe a little more like frustration coming out of Kevin, but he was like, "Oh, I'm just here, and this is the Kevin Owens show." And I hope they see a little more anger out of Kevin. I'm not saying that he has to fully go back to being a heel because there's enough heels as there is on SmackDown, but he did say that there's a lot of different opportunities and a lot of different wrestlers to compete with. So I'm curious to see who Kevin Owens would target first as far as the next rivalry is concerned. And then we had the main event. It was Io Sky against Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. We had Io retain thanks to help from Damage Control. After the match, Damage Control attacks Charlotte like a bunch of hyenas. And then out for the save, it's Charlotte Flair's Aries sister, Bianca Belair, making her return to make the save. By the way, I gotta say, man, Charlotte is getting hotter as the weeks go by. I don't know if it's just me, but she's in her bag right now as far as waterfall is concerned. She is freaking hot as shit these days. But Io and Charlotte thought I had a pretty decent match for all intents and purposes. Io retained. This is going to be the case in point of this constant interference until Bayley's ego gets bruised, and then she turns on Io. So we'll have to see how long this one plays out between those two. But all in all, no harm, no foul. Io retains over Charlotte, and Bianca Belair is back on our TV screens. And that, my friends, as Triple H would say, is best for business. Best for business, pal. Then we go to Monday Night Raw. Let's go over this really quick. We had Raw this past Monday in Dallas, Texas. I don't know what's up with the Dallas crowds recently. I really think that testament to the WrestleMania crowds, all the international people that travel into the city, because I don't know what it is. Like, it was kind of like this crowd was kind of dead, kind of like that night after WrestleMania 38 crowd was. I was at that show too. I don't know what it is with the American Airlines crowds. They're just there. I mean, there was loud a couple months, but even that, like, this is one of those crowds where you think, oh, the show is bad or boring. But I have work, so obviously I look at it from a little different perspective than most people. Now, would I say this has been one of the best Raws in the last couple of weeks through the year? Certainly not. But I didn't think this episode was bad or anything, or I would call it boring. But you could definitely tell the crowd, for whatever reason, was not vibing with anything that was going on in this show on Monday. So we had Cody Rhodes, Damian Priest made official for Crown Jewel. I think that's gonna be a good singles match. I like that idea. You don't have to do another tag match. So leave it like it is. Speaking of tag matches, we had the New Day against the Alpha Academy. The New Day did defeat the Alpha Academy. Very decent match there. We had Becky Lynch retain over Indy Hartwell for the NXT Women's Championship. We'll get to that a little later in regards to Becky. Also, one of the things I really enjoyed from Raw this week was the continued development of what's going on, backstage with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre and Rhea Ripley being the foil in between both of them. And, she's stirring the pot and, she's saying that Seth Rollins needs the Judgment Day if he wants to be the champion, a la Roman Reigns. I really like the dynamic between her and Seth, and I thought that was really, really interesting. And it carried on later on to that night when, Drew McIntyre had his match with Sami Zayn, which was a very, very good match. Fantastic match with Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. Drew won thanks from interference from Rhea Ripley. And, they get to the bag. Seth is like, hey, congrats on your first victory as a member of the Judgment Day. McIntyre calls Rollins paranoid. They start trading bars with each other. And Rollins is like, hey, may the best man win in Crown Jewel. And Drew McIntyre said he will. The turn's happening. Now, I want to get your guys' thoughts on this for those who are watching and listening to this. Would you like to see Drew McIntyre be the guy that replaces Damian Priest in the Judgment Day? Look, who's to say that Drew McIntyre doesn't get the briefcase away from Damian Priest, and he's the one that's part of the Judgment Day? Just throwing it out there. Would you like to see Drew McIntyre join the Judgment Day? And do you think that would be a good idea? Just throwing it out there. I certainly think it's interesting concept to ponder, and I think you can get some good business out of it. You know what I mean? So, all right. Let's continue on here with the show. Forgot to mention this. Johnny Gargano defeated Giovanni Vinci. We had the we had a contract signed for the Fatal 5-Way Women's match at Crown Jewel. The crowd was really into this one. One of the few times they're interacting and making some noise. So that was good for the ladies. I talked about Drew and Sammy. And then the main event was Damian Priest and Jay Rizzo. Jay Uso, Mr. Riz. Yeah. I thought the match was good. Again, I don't know. Either it's just the type of crowd that went to the Dallas show on Monday. Maybe they're just indifferent to it. They didn't really have any thoughts, good, bad, or different. They just were there and didn't want to make noise. So I thought the match was fine. You had Damian Priest win. He probably wanted to get that win if he was fighting Cody at the pay-per-view, so it makes total sense there. But earlier in the show, him and JD McDonough went after the left leg of Cody Rhodes and attacked the ankle. They had that term in wrestling. He Pillmanized the body part. You know what I mean? So you have Damian Priest going after that leg, and then Cody's trying to get a receipt as the show's going off the air. But Finn Balor makes the save. So I don't know what it is. It's like this is the best way that I can describe the Judgment Day right now. It's Lion King. Rhea Ripley is Scar. Dominic, Finn, and Priest are the hyenas. That's what they are. They're Ed. I forgot the other name of the other hyenas from Lion King. But seriously, that's what it is. Mommy is Scar, and the rest of them are hyenas. And they're trying to roll over Pride Rock, damn it. Damn you, heels. So that was it really quick for Raw and SmackDown. I do want to mention this before we get to our next segment, and that is NXT Halloween Havoc. We had night 1 of Halloween Havoc. I'll just run over the results really quick because this is a 2-week special. There's a lot of matches from the women this week on NXT, and they killed it. All of them did. Roxanne Perez defeated Kiana James in the Devil's Playground match. Shout out to Shotzi and Scarlett, who did a great job as the host. Lexis King, Brian Pillman Jr. made his debut on NXT on Tuesday, defeating Dante Chen. I don't know what the name of his new finishing move is, but it's some type of like swinging net breaker off the middle rope. We had Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice advancing to the finals of the 2023 NXT Women's Breakout Tournament. That should be a pretty decent match next week. We had new tag team champions is Andre Chase and Duke Hudson of Chase University defeated the family of Tony D'Angelo and Shanny Stacks Lorenzo. I thought this match went way too long. I thought the match was decent, obviously, with the fact that it's a title change, but I thought this match went way, way too long. I do want to give props to Vic Joseph. You know, they did this preview for Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov next week because that's the main event of Halloween Havoc Night 2. And they had different interviews, and people are asking Carmelo if was he the one that attacked Trick Williams. I was going to say something that was going to give me cancer, so never mind. Who attacked Trick Williams, you know? Was it Trick? Was it Baron Corbin? Was it Braun Breaker? Was it Brian Alvarez? Who attacked Trick? Brian Alvarez can attack anybody if life depended on it. So I like the sit-down interviews that Vic had with Carmelo and Dragunov. I thought those were good. Speaking of good, the Blair Davenport Gigi Dolan Lights Out match I thought was fantastic. Blair Davenport is the real deal. I can say it to the cows come home. She is fantastic at what she does. And again, another hot woman on the TV show. Her and Gigi Dolan had a very good match, and it's kind of cool to see that the Kamigoye in WWE is a finish these days, which I think is pretty cool. Kamigoye! And then the main event was Becky Lynch and Liv Valkyria. We had the beautiful Jade Cargill sitting in her rightful throne inside the NXT arena at the Performance Center. Fantastic main event from both ladies. Becky Lynch lost her NXT championship to Liv Valkyria. She is the new NXT Women's Champion, and you know I'm always happy to see like the NXT UK people get titles and get big moments like that. And Liv Valkyria, who used to be called Aoife Valkyrie, did a fantastic job in this match and very well deserved. And she did a fantastic job. So congrats go out to Liv Valkyria as your new NXT Women's Champion. Really quick, here's the matches coming up for next week for Night 2 of Halloween Havoc. We got the Creed Brothers against Los Lotharios. Check this out. A tables, ladders, and scares match. I don't know the scares aspect of it. But it is kind of ironic that Halloween Havoc is actually on the day of Halloween next Tuesday, which I think is pretty cool. Dominic Mysterio will be putting his North American title on the line against Nathan Frazier. From there, we have Chelsea Green and Piper Niven putting their WWE Women's Tag Team titles on the line against JC Jane and Thea Hale. We got Braun Breaker against Robert Stone. That's going to be a massacre. We got Tiffany Stratton against Fallon Henley. I'm looking forward to this match. You know, Fallon Henley was like making fun of Tiffany Stratton. She like cosplayed as her on NXT this week. I thought it was pretty funny. So those two should have a pretty decent match. We have the finals of the Women's Breakout Tournament, like I mentioned earlier, with Kalani Jordan and Lola Vice. And then the main event, Ilya Dragunov against Carmelo Hayes. Now, I wanted to end this segment with how we started last week's episode of the Hoots Podcast. I heard Punk's interview today on the Score on the Bernstein and Holmes show. They had Layla Rahimi. I don't know why they don't call it. I don't know why they just don't call it Bernstein, Holmes, and Rahimi, because she's practically on the show all the time. But anyways, you know, I'm watching the interview that Punk was on there today. And by the way, happy 45th birthday goes out to my favorite wrestler, CM Punk. Mentioned before, he outside the Undertaker. You see the Undertaker in the wall here in the studio. Outside of Undertaker, CM Punk is my all-time favorite wrestler. This stands on my table here that I record a podcast every single week. This is the picture I took of CM Punk returning at the United Center for Collision. I was at this show. This is the debut episode of Collision. This is my favorite wrestler, CM Punk, right here. So, just want to show that to you guys. If you guys are watching the video version, we should get it on YouTube, by the way, of the Hoots Podcast. So, CM Punk, was on the score. They asked the question, will he be at Survivor Series? And he said that he jokingly said, hey, it looks like they probably already sold out on tickets and everything. So, a little tongue-in-cheek there. I know there's a lot of people still out there like, oh, it's not happening. It's not happening. Stop getting your hopes up. All I'll just say that is this. This is all I'm going to say about it. If you're honestly 100% fully believing that it's not going to happen, you're going to have a bad look on your face by the time CM Punk does return to WWE. I'm not saying that it has to be at the Rosemont Horizon, but sooner or later, CM Punk will be at WWE. I will throw this out there like I did last week. And I'm just at the point in my life where I just want to manifest stuff, and I'm just going to shoot my shot and see where things go. I put it out there. The invitation is still out there. So for those who are watching this and listening to this, if you guys could do me a favor alongside myself, let's reach out and let's bring CM Punk to the Hoots Podcast. I really think we can have really a fascinating conversation with Punk. Obviously, you got two Chicago guys here. This would be a good platform for him to come on here and speak however he wants to talk and speak from off the cuff. And I want to give him the platform to debunk some of the nonsense that's been being spewed on these sites and stuff like that. And this is going to be an interview that has no agenda or BS or dirt sheet spin around it. I want Punk here on the Hoots Podcast. I think it'll be an interview that he hasn't had yet in the wrestling space. And I think that I could do a good job with the interview. I really do. Humbly speaking, I really think that you could get a lot of nuggets out of Punk out of the interview with me. And I'm just manifesting it. If there's any way we could get CM Punk on the Hoots Podcast before episode 400, that would really mean a lot to me. So I'm just going to shoot my shot. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. But to have CM Punk have a platform here for him to speak for himself, and I could ask him legitimate questions and just get straight to the truth and not dance around and do nonsense like all these other interviewers do. I really think it'd be really cool. So let's make it happen. Let's bring CM Punk to the Hoots Podcast. And on that note, that is what happened this week in WWE. All right, folks, it's time once again to figure out who's the next winners of the prestigious award. An award that maybe it's not 100% great to be proud of, but it's an award that we hand out each every single week. This has been a spinoff of DSU, Dipshit University. We had the Young Club in the past. But now here in 2023, in the final iteration of the Hoots Podcast, and as we're on this final chapter, we have a segment called the CLAHN of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to take a look at who is the winner of this week's CLAHN of the Week. Let's play the clip here.
I'm not CLAHN. You're big CLAHN.
One more time for good measure.
I'm not CLAHN. You're big
CLAHN. You guys want to know who the clown this week? All those chicks that came up with that ridiculous list of places that they are not allowed to go to on a first date. First off, about I'd probably say at least 55% of the chicks that came up with this list are not even at the value of some of the restaurants that were mentioned on this list. So to whoever it was that came up with that stupid ass list that got viral this week. Oh, you can't take me to the Cheesecake Factory. Hell, you're not even I bet you your pussy's not even as tasteful as any of the fucking cheesecakes that they offer at the Cheesecake Factory. Humble yourself a little bit. Okay, so how about this? This sounds the goofiest thing I've seen in a while. You combine an entire list of places you probably should take somebody on a first date. Obviously, I wouldn't bring a chick that I'm dating to my house for a first date. That's weird. But you can't take a chick to the movies. You can't take her to Chili's. That's an issue for the first date. Again, we all have standards and stuff like that. I'm not begrudging people, but just some of the delusion that a lot of you women have these days is just appalling at these days. They literally come up with a full list of things to not do on the first date for places that some of you are not even worthy of going to in the first place. I just don't get it. It's some of the stupidest shit I've seen all year. And now I heard that men are now coming up with a list of what to and what not to do as far as first dates are concerned for women. It's so stupid. It really is. It really is. So for the nimrodded, airheaded women that decided to compile that viral list of restaurants that they're unworthy of going to for their first date, boo-boo, all of you are the CLAHN of the week. Boo-boo. All right, let me make my picks here for week number 8 of the NFL. I believe I got that correct. And yes, that's it. I have the Bills over the Bucks. The Bills are up right now, 24-10. I am making my picks here via ESPN. So just so people know that I'm not cheating here, I'm going to share screen this, and you guys can see for yourself that I'm not lying here with my football picks. So let's take a look at this, shall we? Let's do this here. So here we go. I got the Vikings over the Packers, Titans over the Falcons, Saints over the Colts, Jets over the Giants, the battle of the Jersey football teams, I guess. Got the Jaguars over the Steelers. Got the Texans over the Panthers. Unfortunately, I think the Chargers rebound and beat my Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football, though the Bears did look good last week against the Vegas Raiders. 49ers over the Bengals. I got the Seahawks over the Browns. Cowgirls over the Rams. Lions over the Raiders, Ravens over the Cardinals, Chiefs over Broncos, Eagles over the Commanders, and Dolphins over the Patriots. I'm really gonna love this weekend of football because there's 16 games this weekend. Not only the game going on right now, but we got 14 on Sunday, and then the Monday night game, which is the Raiders and the Lions. So yeah. I think it's going to be a pretty good week football-wise, if you're asking me. All right. We got one more segment to go. And it's probably the most popular segment and the most fun one to do outside of what the hell's wrong with AEW. It's time for the Back Porch Q&A session right here on the Hoots Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one more segment to do here. Time for the Back Porch Q&A session. For those who are watching live on YouTube and Facebook, you can participate in this segment as well if you like. All you have to do is participate and ask me a question, whatever's on your mind. Positive, negative, whatever's on your mind. We're open to any suggestions here as we record this segment. This is one of my favorite segments to do because this is my opportunity to come in here and shoot the shit with you guys. So I do appreciate the support for each and every single one of you for hanging out with me and giving this podcast a chance. So with that being said, let's lower the music here real quick and play some tunes. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about some questions here. We start off with the good brother Chris Saletta at XTSaletta24X on Twitter. He says, "What up, Boots? Here's some question for Q&A this week. Thoughts on Impact going back to TNA? Was Impact as a brand only going to go so far?" Well, I'll just say that Impact TNA had the same issue that they're going to run into. It's what the network that they're on. So I don't know that this switch to going back to TNA isn't really going to change anything business-wise. I mean, I'm pretty sure that diehard Impact and TNA fans are just going to be going crazy over it. But, you know, the six-side arena's not coming back, which obviously is a big choice for the safety of the wrestlers. But also at the same time, you know, it's much more for Impact to grow to the next level than, oh, we're bringing back TNA. Oh, we're bringing this person in and bringing that person in. You know, you get the best of the indies and stuff like that goes on currently with TNA. And I think they have a good roster and they have been building momentum. But there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes business-wise that's going to have to change in order for them to go to the next level. You can call your company whatever you want, but when you're on networks that nobody has the money to pay for, nor have the want to watch your product, you got a problem. So I hope they can find a way to get out of Access TV because, you know, they're going to have the same amount of impact business-wise regardless if they're called Impact or TNA. So that's my thoughts on that question. Next one. Did you watch Speedball versus Ospreay yet? No. I haven't watched any of Bound for Glory yet. It's been a crazy week for me. We had the ceremony for my Aunt Chrissy on Saturday, and I just didn't watch it. By the time I got back to my house, I was already just drained. So I didn't watch it live, or I didn't even have a chance to watch it over the weekend because I had to do my meal prep cooking on Sunday and then football and then back to work on Monday, writing blogs and transcripts. So I haven't had a chance to watch Bound for Glory yet, but I heard a lot of great things. A lot of people are saying that this is a LOL Match of the Year candidate, if you know what I mean. What if Wesley had an involvement in Trick getting attacked? I mean, it's not a bad idea. I wouldn't be surprised. Trick Williams attacking Wesley attacking Trick Williams, I would not be surprised. So that's not a bad suggestion there, Chris. Have the 49ers been exposed? How big of frauds are the Ravens? I can't say the Ravens are the frauds because they mollywopped the Lions last week, Chris. So I can't really say that they're frauds. Can we say that the 49ers and the Lions are frauds? Maybe. Maybe not. We'll have to see. When do you think we see Brock Lesnar again? And who do you think his next program will be with? Great question. You know what? Nobody's throwing this out there, but why not have Kevin Owens against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania? You know, why not? Well, let's say how about this? What if Brock Lesnar fights Drew McIntyre this time with a crowd? You know, I'm just spitballing here. I don't think Gunther will fight Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I don't. I don't think Brock is going to be fighting for the World Championship, so we could scratch Brock Lesnar from winning the Royal Rumble match. That's a great question, Chris. It really is because you got options. You do. You could have Brock against Sammy. You could have Brock against Randy, I guess. They never had a one-on-one match at WrestleMania, so you could do that, I guess, for history purposes. Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton at WrestleMania went really bother me. You have a lot of different options, so I think we'll probably see Brock back by the time Royal Rumble rolls around. So we'll have to see how that goes. Great question there. If it was up to you, who are you featuring in both men and women's War Game matches at Survivor Series this year? Well, I think the pretty obvious one is obviously Solo, Jimmy, Ed, and Eddie, the Hyenas from the Judgment Day, against Cody, Kevin, Jay, Sammy, and LA Knight. Those are my picks for the War Games match. Then the women, that's another good question there too. I have, but here's the thing. Where does it come from? Does it come from the Raw side or SmackDown? Do we have Raw versus SmackDown Women's Survivor War Games match? Because if that's the case, you do Rhea, Becky, Nia Jax probably, Shayna Baszler, and Raquel Rodriguez, I would guess, against Charlotte, Bayley, Io, Asuka, and Bianca. So got your 5 and 5 right there. So that's how I would do it, I guess. Was this Becky NXT title run better than her previous title run? How impactful was this recent run? I thought it was very impactful. She did a lot of great things for the NXT brand, and I think she did a lot of good business down there. And to have her have that send off the way she did on Tuesday was the right call. And good on Becky. She did a lot of good work in NXT. I don't know if I would call this run better than her other title reigns, but Becky did a very, very good job. A very good job in NXT. What else here? Who's been the better contributor to pro wrestling in these recent years, Scott D'Amore or Toy Chest Tony? I'm saying this not because I want a job with Impact, but that'd be cool if I did have a chance to work for Impact. But just objectively speaking, I'm going to say Scott D'Amore has done more for wrestling than Tony Khan. Just watching the shows and the people that have been given opportunities to reinvent their careers in wrestling, I have to say Scott D'Amore. Just a lot of the stuff with AEW, just a lot of the things were just skewed with the fact that you already have built-in excuses and built-in praise from the wrestling media regardless of whatever is produced on AEW. And when it comes to Impact, a lot of it's done with genuism and genuine opportunity and not, predetermined validation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So definitely I would give more credit to Scott D'Amore, not only as a promoter, but also as a booker as well. And I don't even talk booking that much on this show. What's the point of bringing in Flair to manage Sting over the next few months? Just to have him and Sting be reunited. It's just for historical purposes if you're like a long-time historian of wrestling like I am. Do you think this current presentation of everything around Chase U carry over onto the main roster? I don't think so. I just don't know how long it's sustainable that act would be able to work on Raw or SmackDown. That's just my opinion. And no, it's not a Triple H or Vince thing. I just don't think that act in particular would fit well on that stage with crowds. I don't think people in Bumblefuck, Iowa would care about Chase U University. So I like Andre Chase. I like the gimmick. I've enjoyed it since day one, but I don't think it. I think NXT is the ceiling of what that act can do. Tia Hale's already practically left the group. She's been using Andre Chase for the last couple weeks. She's been hoodwinked by JC Jane, so it's what it is. Thank you, Chris, for the questions this week. I appreciate you, brother, as always. I appreciate the support and the great questions you ask every week. Chris leads the questions now to the good brother Mike Rubio at Main Event Swerve. Shout out to my guy Mike. He says, "What up, Boost? Here are some questions for this week's Back Porch. Hope we still hear from you on this app, other pods, other stuff, even because you are amazingly talented, and that shouldn't go silent." Mike, thank you so much for saying that, man. You have no idea how much that means to me. So really, thank you for saying that. Really, I really do appreciate that. Thoughts on the Rangers and Diamondbacks making it to the World Series? An absolute Cinderella story in Arizona versus a rich baseball team that spent a ton of money. Well, you definitely got that second part right. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that you don't have to name brands in the World Series. No offense to you, Mike, but I was tired of seeing the Astros in the World Series. But I'm all for the Diamondbacks. You know, for whatever reason, you know, with me being a White Sox fan, I guess the Diamondbacks were the team that I always like rooted for from the NL. So I got to go with the Diamondbacks over the Rangers, but I just think it's a cool story for them. You know, having 84 wins, be a wild card team, you know, do what they did in the playoffs to get to this point. You know, Evan Longoria is their longtime veteran. Definitely probably be a future Hall of Famer, if I'm not mistaken, right? I do hope that the Diamondbacks win, but if the Rangers win, I wouldn't be mad either because my buddy Blake Mitchamore, who I used to do shows with, is a Rangers fan. So I think it's gonna be a cool World Series, and I'm excited to check it out. So congrats to both teams, and I'm rooting for the Diamondbacks. That's my pick for the World Series. I got the Diamondbacks in 6. That's my pick. No. Surprise, CLAHN made it to the finals of the breakout tournament. No. When they did that rollout, like that introduction of who was participating, you could have a feeling, like an inkling of who's going to make it to the finals, and you have your favorites, but it just made too much sense for CLAHN not to be in the finals. So I'm glad that she made it there. What was your biggest surprise of? Oh, that's not an original song. That's an interesting question. I mean, I've heard different like variations of Man Eater. You know, I was watching this movie earlier today on Netflix called No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. Very good movie, by the way. If you want to watch it on Netflix, it's very good. But the guy that was trying to get with her, right? Trying to impress her by playing like a more romantic rendition of Man Eater on the piano. I thought that was kind of interesting, but no, that's not an original song. I mean, you hear different style covers from a lot of different bands over the years, but since it's recent on my mind, I'd probably say Man Eater is the one off the top of my head. I think that's an 80s song, if I'm not mistaken, too, right? Early favorite to win the Super Bowl? Early favorite for the Super Bowl. That's a good question. Right now, it looks like it could possibly be a rematch with the Eagles and the Chiefs. I personally hope not, because the less Travis Kelce, the better, in my opinion. But all that being said, I would not be surprised if they do end up making it to the Super Bowl again, the Chiefs and the Eagles. Kelce Bowl number 2. What's your favorite thing to watch on Disney Plus, classic or new? Well, Mike, I'm afraid I got some bad news. I don't have Disney Plus. If anybody could loan me their Disney Plus account, that would mean a lot to me. I don't have it. But if I did have Disney Plus, you know I'd be watching. I'd be watching How I Met Your Mother. And I'll be watching The Lion King. Not only the original movie, but Lion King 2. What? The live action Lion King that came out a few years ago from Jon Favreau. What? Just give me Lion King. If somebody has Disney Plus, lend it to your boy. Your boy would deeply appreciate it. Other than Megan Morant as Grayson Waller, That was great, by the way. She did a great job on the bump. What is your favorite cosplay for Halloween of WWE superstars? You know what? Not to be biased, but I'm not gonna lie. Adam did a great job. Uh, when he had his wedding with Sam a while back, his former wife, they had a wedding at the weekend of WrestleMania 28, and he dressed up as CM Punk, and she was dressed up as Layla, I believe. But Punk, I always call Adam Punkster, so it always slips off my tongue. But Adam did a really good job with his CM Punk get up. Look, it is what it is. The guy looks exactly like him, and it's not a bad thing. So, I got to give a shout out to my brother and the original co-host of the podcast, Adam. He definitely had the best cosplay that I've seen of somebody, of a wrestler. Him as CM Punk, top notch. No harm, no foul. I thought that was cool. I never really had a chance to do a cosplay as a wrestler, so I'm not too into with that scene. But before I recall, I always, whenever I think of cosplay, that wedding always comes off the top of my head. So I want to give a shout out to my boy Adam. Not only that, his birthday is tomorrow, so I want to give a little birthday shout out to my boy Adam Daly, and I miss you, my brother. So that's a good question there. Final question that is it, actually. Well, that's all for now. Take it easy. Thanks. Thank you, good brother, for the questions. And I want to thank Mike and Chris for the great questions this week. As always, if you want to participate in the Back Porch Q&A session, all you have to do is hit me up at Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. If you would like to advertise with the Hoots Podcast, hit us up there at the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com as well. And don't forget, we're 200,000 downloads away from reaching episode 400. I'm all flustered here. Excuse me. We are 200,000 downloads away from reaching the 1 million download mark on Anchor/Spotify for podcasters. So continue to like the show, support it, share it with your friends, tell them where you can get the Hoots Podcast. It comes to you free of charge anywhere you get your podcasts from. YouTube, what? Google, what? Spotify, what? Amazon, what? The Odyssey app, what? Audible, what? Pandora, etc., etc. Type in the Hoots Podcast. Easy to find, free of charge. Share it with your friends. It would mean a lot to me. And don't forget, the countdown to episode 400 continues. And always remember, folks, be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself and the man upstairs. I love you guys. This episode has been dedicated in the loving memory of my late Aunt Chrissy, who passed away a couple weeks ago. And we had her memorial service the other day. And I love her, and I'm going to miss her a lot. And I love each and every single one of you. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. When I come here next week, we'll make our preview and predictions for Crown Jewel. No! So this has been episode 384 of the Hoots Podcast. My name is Joshie Lopez. We'll talk to y'all next week. Yes, sir.